join me for this Psoas release and a teaching on the root of your fear reflex in your body and how to work with it. This is not a stretch. We're releasing the Psoas and reprogramming its function. I'll explain more as we get into position, but know that as you work with this exercise, you're directly easing accumulated fear response in your body, which can help relieve pain and anxiety. You'll need a blanket. If you don't have a blanket, you can use a pillow. If you do have a blanket, great. You're going to roll it up like this into a sushi roll or burrito shape. And before we use the blanket, just kind of lie it out and scoot your bum toward it, and you're going to lie on your back. And as you're lying on your back, just notice any pain, any tension. And if you don't feel tension, you can just notice where your back is and isn't on the mat. You might notice the space in your lower back. You might notice your ribs kind of popping up a little bit. Just notice. Go ahead and slide your blanket now underneath your pelvis and sacrum lengthwise. It shouldn't be underneath your lower back, just right here underneath your sacrum and pelvis. So your lower back is free and your hips are a little elevated. If you feel pinching in your back or you're uncomfortable, you can make your folded blanket less high. Your knees are bent and your feet are flat on the floor. Notice how the pelvis is in this sloped position, creating a bit of a hammock shape. You might not feel much, but do your best to notice the sensation of being in this position. We're offloading the pelvis and the lower back. Feel or visualize your organs and your psoas resting toward the back of your body in this hammock. I'm going to give you more details in a moment about your psoas, but for now, begin to focus on your exhale. Make your exhale longer than your inhale and really be sure to release all of your air out. As you focus on your exhale and letting your air out, the inhale will become more full and better organized. Just by being here and not knowing much, you're already balancing your nervous system and strengthening your immune system. So just stay with this breath. Focusing on gently exhaling all of your air out. Stay with this breath. Your psoas essentially connects your torso to your lower body. It originates along your spinal vertebrae and the discs in the lower back, and it moves down and along the pelvis and connects to your inner upper thigh bones. You have one on each side of the body. Envision this as best you can. The psoas makes up your center, it's part of your solar plexus, and it's responsible for your fear reflex. It's the part of you that contracts and protects when you're threatened or feeling protective. The part of you that freezes from fear, and it's been doing this for as long as you've been able to be afraid. Yes, since you were born. Every time it contracts and shortens, it moves forward toward the front of the body. So we're encouraging it to move to the back body, long, lengthened. Scoot your little flattened burrito blanket, your folded blanket, down about, an inch or two. It's going to come down lower on the sacrum toward the tailbone, and you'll end up in a new slope. You're still in a hammock sloped position, just a little different now. Continue focusing on long exhales, letting all of your air out just gently. The fear reflex is directly connected to the Psoas. And this is from the Psoas book, Liz Koch's book. When the reflex fires repeatedly with little recovery time and or no ability to complete the cycle by fleeing or fighting, a conditioned response occurs in the body for the next attack by maintaining a state of tension. Because the organism, the Psoas, no longer has the opportunity to return to a normal state of functioning and nourish itself, the level of tension accumulates. This tension is experienced as anxiety. So we are, with this currenting, this releasing the Psoas to the back body, we are undoing the layers of tension that have possibly accumulated from every time we've been in fight or flight. Go ahead and scooch the blanket down a little bit more. It'll be kind of toward the very low, either very low on your sacrum or toward the bottom of your tailbone, still kind of creating this hammock position. Now begin to focus on your inhale. Begin to inhale very full, down and wide into the belly. So your inhale is down and wide into your pelvis, massaging the psoas toward the back of the body. As you inhale, feel your belly rise. As your breath becomes deeper, notice the inhale moves not only down and wide into the lower body, but also up and wide into the ribs. The breath is really three-dimensional. We'll be here just a little bit longer. Continue feeling the polarity of the breath down and wide into the belly and the waist, and also up and wide into the ribs, wide and into the back lungs. Now just move your blanket out and lie flat on the floor. Keep your knees bent at first here. And assess how you feel compared to when we started. Your back may feel more lengthened or flatter toward the floor, less tense. And what I'm doing here now, keeping this position that my pelvis is in, you can bring your hands to your bony hip bones of the pelvis, without tilting the pelvis forward or moving much through the back or torso. I'm scooting my leg out, my left leg out along the floor. And then I just kind of iron out the top of the thigh bone, encouraging the psoas to lengthen a little bit more. And then you can do the other side. You can see I'm being really mindful when I scoot the leg out, trying to keep my pelvis and lower back in this lengthened position. And then I'm just massaging along the front of my thigh. And then when I move to bring my leg back in, I do it without bulging in my belly or tensing in my lower back. Can you see that? And if you can't do that yet, don't worry. Just don't do that part. Just be easy on yourself and stick with the psoas currenting we did with the blanket under the sacrum. And now step your feet wide, wider than your hips, and let your knees knock together. Just let your thigh bones feel really heavy again, relaxing your thigh bones and the hip sockets. And then take your arms out to the sides, reach them up toward the ceiling, to the sky, and then cross your arms at the elbows and let them kind of fold over your shoulders so they're just hanging. This is called constructive rest, introduced to us by Liz Koch, again from the Psoas book. It just feels really good, and it again reminds the psoas to relax toward the back body, current toward the back body, nice and long. I really encourage you work with this every day. I know it's challenging to lie on the ground and do practically nothing and be in such stillness, but the results are so worth it. This is part of a 3-part process. This is the beginning of really restoring your psoas, restoring your nervous system, and it becomes the foundation for all core work and properly engaging and moving from the center of our bodies. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.